the Irrational Confidence Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and it is week number 8. It's in the books. It's been a crazy weekend. It has been an even better year of college football. We got some great stuff. I'm joined by my co-host, Fresh. How you doing, buddy?
What a Saturday. You start off with the noon kicks and all that excitement all the way till probably about 2 in the morning with the end of the Stanford Florida State game. Chaos, great college football, and you can definitely tell we're in that mid-October where there's separation being made between the contenders and pretenders across the nation.
Yeah. Fresh, just a couple of things, and shout out because a couple of different people had this out there on Twitter yesterday, but a couple of fun facts for you. Indiana is 7-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time ever. Georgia Tech is 7-0 for the first time since 1966. Vandy is 6-1 for the first time since 1950. UVA first 6-1 since 2007, and Navy is 6-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 78-79 season, and Texas A&M, they're 7-0 for the first time since 1994. Fresh, the measuring stick is always the 2007 football season as the craziest college football season of all time. I am thinking that 2025 is going to be that way.
We're getting close. I would say in 07 there wasn't a dominant number one head and shoulders above everybody else. This year, at least Ohio State appears to be that. But outside of from 2 on the way through, there is parity, chaos, inexplicable outcomes that are going to be coming our way, and they already have shown their way so far this season. And that's just we haven't even gotten to the college football playoff ranking release show, which I think happens in a couple of weeks. But those are just going to be a roller coaster, very similar to Florida State season. A roller coaster with a lot of leaps and a lot of bounds.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of people who are a glass box of emotions throughout the rest of this season. So, All right, Fresh. This weekend kicked off on Friday night. Miami in South Florida, in Coral Gables there. Well, Sid from Ice Age showed back up. 4 interceptions on the
You throw 4 picks, down 14-0 right off the bat in the first quarter. And we're all kind of waiting for this Hurricane team to do it. They do it every year. They show up, and they just lay an egg. And it wasn't even on the road. They weren't playing at Papa John Stadium up there in Louisville. They were down in, I don't know if it's a home field advantage, but in Miami Gardens. And that team, they look to the leader, and all Carson has to do is just complete some passes, get the offense going, and he comes out. And one of the interceptions, the last one, was a bad throw, but the interception, if you watch the replay, the player made a hell of a job. He picked the ball basically off the ground and picked it off and to seal it. So they were making plays, but he was giving the ball away. They knew something was coming. Not to pour it on, but as a Georgia fan, you're kind of you left because you said the receivers weren't catching the ball or this and that. The offense wasn't great. All you have to do is just, and you come out here and you clunk it up. Is it going to cost them a playoff spot? Probably not. And actually might help them in the long run because now they are motivated and they aren't going to have the pressure of being a top 4 seed. They're going to get a home playoff game. And I mean, if they do, that's actually probably worse for them. They might want to go on the road and just galvanize themselves because they're at home. It's going to be a 50-50 split. But they're going to probably be a playoff team. But that is a wake-up call now. It's hey, we got a lot of stuff we got to fix. We can't be too on ourselves. We had the talent. Let's just go ahead and take care of business. The schedule is pretty solid for them the rest of the year. But the way the ACC is looking, I don't know if they'll actually play for the ACC title.
Yeah. Fresh, I still cannot believe Louisville pulled this off. We shouldn't be too shocked because Brom over there at Louisville always has team ready to play. And the fact that Louisville was 4-1 going into this football game and weren't ranked, again, people will always say, who do you play? This is the ridiculousness of the AP voters. Teams will win their games ahead of them, and they just won't put them in there for whatever reason, whatever biases they have, or they haven't seen a single game of Louisville football. For those of us who watch, we know how good of a coach Brom is, how well he has Louisville prepared. Are we ever going to say that Louisville is a top 10, 12 program? No, I don't think so. But I think they definitely deserve to be in that back half of the AP top 25. I think they definitely deserve to be at least in the 20s going into this game. It looks like Isaac Brown is back. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
we've been waiting for him all year to come back. The 15 carries, 113 yards there. He really paced the Cardinals in this football game. And then Chris Bell, what he was able to do with those 9 catches and just absolutely torch the Miami secondary. Amazing job out of the Louisville Cardinals. And I felt like they were kind of like the forgotten team because the last 2 seasons, Louisville's been that team that we have talked about being the one team that could jump up and maybe compete for the ACC title, but they always like stub their toe along the way. Not a bad team, just always that team we're waiting to take that next step into it. But they did play for the ACC title, what, a couple years ago? Florida State,
23, yeah, for Florida State.
23?
And if they had a little more offense in that game, who knows? But
Yeah.
it's a program that he's built, and he did obviously at Purdue as well, where he gets guys to compete at a high level that can score a lot of points. And this is I think also a tip in their cap that they're still in the conversation for the ACC, and they have that one up on Miami now.
Right. All right, Fresh, where do you want to go this week and where do you want to start at?
Now, I'm going to give my tip of the cap to Vanderbilt. I mean, we have
Okay.
been on this Diago parade for a year and a half now, and I've always been like, all right, well, let me see some consistency. Because last year when they beat Alabama, and then there was a significant dip. Their resiliency this year, the way they played versus Alabama, coming back and getting the win versus LSU and competing in a shootout. It wasn't like a rugged, we're going to slow the ball down, we're going to score 13 points, we're going to control the clock. They were scoring with them. What Clark Lee has done there, the stadium renovations, the program overall, but probably being like the lighter fluid for them
Mm-hmm.
has been very invigorating. You talked about all those schools that are in those first and forever of great starts. When there's a similarity among most of those, that they're all very strong academic universities that struggled in football in the past. In the day of transfer portal, I'm not going to say much NIL, but it does definitely helps. These schools can build programs to be sustainable now. Vanderbilt's done it. We've seen Duke be competitive. We've seen Northwestern go play for Big Ten title. We've seen Stanford go to a BCS bowl game a few times. It's if you have the NIL support from big boosters, if you have the big boosters you can support through contracts for coaches and facilities, and then using the transfer portal well smart, you're going to be able to get guys who can compete. And all these guys usually they're SEC players who transferred after a year or two going to some other school, come in, and now get the chance to actually play in an SEC footprint. So they still maintain that connection, but they are all have something to prove. And that has allowed them to really take advantage, and they are playing with the chip on the shoulder. And Clark Lee is a very hard-nosed, tough, disciplined coach, and the guys, they show up to play. And they did that on Saturday at home versus LSU. And we need to start really accepting the fact that we could have an Indiana Vanderbilt playoff matchup. And that's not out of the question the way it's playing out. Like that could be
Nope.
a real serious situation that comes our way in late December.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. How close is LSU to Fraudville?
Oh, they're approaching like they're like oh, no, hey, 3 miles away, exit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this is Brian Kelly's job is to bring them there to win SC championship and get this team to
Right.
the playoff. He got them in his first year under Jane Daniels, and they got stomped by the Georgia Bulldogs. And then since then, it has been chaos. The defense, the LSU defensive standard, especially in the secondary, has completely fallen off. He's supposed to be an offensive focused coach. The offense is Jekyll and Hyde-ish, where one game is
Right.
great,
That's a
and
good
one
way to
game
say
is
it.
just disappears. I wasn't going to use another term. The running game is non-existent. The offensive line, where Brian Kelly at Notre Dame was able to get offensive linemen in the NFL and produce.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Will Campbell, where's that reset this year? You lost a couple of guys last year, but you should have been prepared. Year 4? Like, where is
Mm-hmm.
this? There's some serious disconnects. We all kind of shook our head at to hire Brian Kelly to LSU because he really is like, how does he fit the footprint? And he obviously had that whole fake Cajun Southern accent during the introduction of the basketball game. And it seems like it's all coming to fruition now. Like, all right, the smoke is lifting and we're seeing you for what you are. You need to have execution on game day is terrible. You have no thought process about how you're going to execute your overall game plan in general. Yeah, you're a CEO, which maybe that's what they needed, but you're not the leader of men that they need as well. The fact
Mm-hmm.
that someone was calling out like, "Oh, last week we actually saw Brian Kelly with a play sheet." Come on, like unless you're Nick Saban, you don't need to have a play sheet. And even Nick Saban basically was like, "I know what the play is. I'm going to override it or not." You have to have much more control, and it's really starting to show very similar. Ironically, Mike Norvell came in the same year Mike Norvell was there in 2020, but they both have shown they had that 1 or 2 season, spike, but then after that, it's just everything falls off. The buyout's huge, but maybe I think LSU fans have some significant buyer's remorse.
Right. And the fact that Vandy was able to run for 239 on an LSU defense, if I'm an LSU fan, that statistic right there, yeah, I'd be losing my mind. All right, Fresh, we got to go over to Durham, North Carolina here, because I think people need to start watching Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech really announced themselves, I think, on Saturday of saying, like, we are going to be a team that even when we don't play our best game, we can come back, we can win, we can still make some noise in the ACC. They're 7-0 on the season right now. No one was putting respect on their name. And again, Duke is better than most people will think. They're 4-3 on the season. And again, remember, expectations matter. The expectations of the Duke Blue Devils, a 7-5 year is a phenomenal year for the Duke Blue Devils. Georgia Tech is a road underdog against this Duke team, and they pull off a great fourth quarter win, 27-18. You had it as your fresh pick, which is fantastic. Hey, I took that one. Took it and ran with that one. Again, Haynes King should probably be getting a little more Heisman hype too.
Well, you look at this, they're not a sexy football team.
They aren't. But
it's still Paul Johnson. It's not triple option. It is a very disciplined offense under Buster Faulkner and Brent Key, and they're very physical line of scrimmage. They have a dog at quarterback, to quote Pat McAfee. They have a dog. Haynes King, I don't know if he's going to be able to physically survive, and they probably have to coach him as a dude. You can step out of bounds, you can slide, don't take all the hits, because he is very similar to Pavia. If he's on the field, they're in a great spot. If they don't, can that backup quarterback, they have some talent there, but can the backup quarterback fully jump in and give him the exact same thing that Haynes has done? His dual threat, his toughness, his leadership. That's what they have. But defense for Georgia Tech has been the other big thing where they're stopping people. They're not a sieve. You kind of look at the game. It was close. Yes, they had a 90-something yard touchdown return by Daniels, a fumble return to really seal the game. So it was a close game. It was hard fought, but they found ways to win. And very similar, when you talk about mental toughness, LSU doesn't have it. Penn State doesn't have it. Georgia Tech has the mental toughness. They are prepared for the full 60-minute plus war that's coming their way. Here's where we talk about Miami going in. You have to have blinders on. The rest of the schedule, outside of playing Georgia the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you are a beeline to Charlotte and a beeline to have a playoff spot.
Right.
You just need to maintain your own business. Pay attention to yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. One game at a time. And if you can get through that, Georgia Tech, it could either be I'm eliminating Georgia and keeping them out of the playoff and being undefeated and getting top 4 seed, or I have one loss. Georgia has 1 or 2 losses, but we played a great game. We're both in the playoff. It's kind of like that could set up for one of the best games of all time, record-wise coming in, especially in that rivalry. But you can't let that moment get too big because that's still 6 weeks away. Focus on your game this week, one at a time, and you'll be playing for an ACC title. And if things shake out, you don't have to worry about playing the Hurricanes. Right. The way Virginia's playing, they've already taken themselves out of the equation. You can just maintain. So now we're going to see, in soccer, they use this mentality monsters, where you're strong mentally. You can be able to focus and get through any trial moment. You'll be able to score in the 98th minute or the 90th minute or the 88th minute, whatever late moment you're able to persevere and prevail. That's what Georgia Tech reminds me. Just keeping your mental state focused. Don't read too much into it. Just play one game at a time. And you might actually kind of want to remain the unknown, the other team, because that takes pressure off of you. It puts pressure on the Indians of the world. It put the pressure on Miami, pressure on whoever. You can just sort of chill and just maintain.
I can't say how much I expected Georgia Tech to be a force this season. I don't know if my expectations were to this level though. This is pretty awesome.
And it's just it shows Haynes King was good at Texas A&M. They just did not use him right.
Yeah.
And sometimes a blessing is transferring, and that's where the transfer portal does offer a lot of opportunity. It's the multiple transfers that piss me off. So the one transfer going there, sitting out and preparing yourself and getting a new experience, clean slate, that's great. And you're starting to see it right now at Georgia Tech.
Yeah. All right, Fresh, we got a bunch of other places we got to get to. So where else you want to go to first?
Let's go to Athens. I'm going to give my dog some.
All right.
This team,
the offense showed up. Case of emotions again.
The offense showed up, but this defense is it's tough to watch. They didn't, I mean, that first half, you had 5 drives and 5 touchdowns, 5 consecutive drives. Just at least make up an effort. But then in the fourth quarter, they only give up 13 yards to Ole Miss and get back-to-back 3 and outs plus another stop late. And you sort of like, well, where was this entire game? They played great second half defense in other games prior to this. But you're kind of like, when are we going to get a full 4 quarters? At some point, you're going to have to give me a full 4 quarters. You can't, these late starts on defense, they're not really adjustments. And Kirby talked about Pat McAfee on Friday. Like, they're not really, you don't really have time to make adjustments. You just sort of like settle in and take a deep breath. So at what point is this defense going to settle in and take a deep breath in the ball game and be able to start fast? Because the offense showed up. Gunnar Stockton out there playing with a serious oblique injury. There was actually talking he might not have even had played. He sort of gutted it out. Receivers making plays, running backs running hard, offensive line blocking. You're kind of like, all right, the teams have actually switched. The offense line is clicking, and now the defense is fading. But their ability to play a full 60 because they were getting it was not looking good there, and the entire team just kept playing, and eventually Ole Miss faded. You could see the defensive line; they were just getting pummeled, and that eventually that fourth quarter just it let loose. If you are in the fourth quarter versus the Georgia Bulldogs, you're going to be in a fight. You have got to put them away.
Right.
And like Tennessee had a 21-7 lead in the first quarter, but they didn't have a big lead at halftime. You've got to go in with a significant lead at halftime to be able to then run the ball down their throat. Is the team perfect? No, but they have shown fight. And there's a lot of teams in the country right now that don't show any kind of pulse or fight. So I will take that, and you can manage, you can mold around the game plan and coach the guys up. But if you can at least have a full roster of guys who are going to compete, it's a dangerous thing. And you survive and advance this moment. You have Florida in 2 weeks, and then you have Mississippi State, and you got Texas at home. Just take one game at a time. You're going to get a very dangerous Florida team. I have a very good feeling that Napier's going to get fired. I have a feeling Napier will not be the head coach, so they're going to play the interim tagger and have the guys motivated. You're going to have a dangerous Florida team. Just go about your business.
Yeah.
This Georgia team they've grown up a lot. They're not perfect, but they have definitely shown me something. I think it's shown the entire fan base that as frustrating as it can be, you just got to hold on, buckle up with full 60, and let it go.
Yeah. Fresh, I got to admit, this is the game I've been waiting for from the Georgia offense. I have been overly critical of Gunnar Stockton, but I've also felt like I've been realistic on his expectations there. And finally, for the first time, I can sit here and say, yes, this was it. This was the game where I've been waiting for it. He showed up. He did everything that I've asked him to. I felt that everything leading up, and even I'll say this with the Tennessee game, he made the first read throw. He made the easy throw. He got to the receiver in space, let the receiver work on that part. That's not as much on the quarterback as it is on the receivers, in my opinion. But in this game, I felt like he went in, and it made it all the better they did through the oblique injury they did. He made the read of what the defense was giving him and then attacked it. And he didn't just attack it like lightly. He attacked it up the seam. He attacked it into where the defense was soft and maybe a zone, what have you. I was impressed by that. I really was. This was the game that I go, okay, this kid, he can ball out when he really wants to. That talent set is there. The fact also is Georgia committed to the running game. 49 attempts, 220 yards. Yes, this is what we've been talking about. This is what we've said Georgia needs to go back to. So this is a heck of a win by the Bulldogs against Ole Miss, because when I saw the game and I was looking at it going, they're down 35-26 in the third quarter. And then third quarter, I go, man, this could be a trouble one. And again, what they did in the fourth quarter defensively is very impressive as well. So great job out of Georgia. I give them their flowers when it's due here, because Gunnar Stockton, I have been critical of him at times, and I have asked for more out of him. But again, my expectation is if you're going to be the quarterback of a top-tier program, you need to play like a quarterback of a top-tier program. And this weekend, he exceeded expectations.
Yeah, and coaching matters in the end. Look what they've developed him. This has been people want to be critical of Bobo. He's a huge Georgia falling off fire like Bobo. He's been in his bag, and that offense has been clicking. And the guys who have maybe been playing out of place, I mean, they've had offensive line issues and putting guys in and trying to get them to play. Now with Colby Young out, how's that going to impact the passing game? But they've coached them up. And if you look at, there's a lot of teams right now in the country, we've already talked about a few of them, that have zero coaching and tons of talent. You have to find a way to push your guys to be and get them in the right spots to develop them week to week. And hopefully that's 2 weeks off here before they play the Gators will be another jump in that development stage.
All right, Fresh, let's take a quick hop over to Tuscaloosa real fast here. Alabama, I think you kind of called this one. Big win out of the Crimson Tide. They weren't able, I thought Alabama was going to maybe struggle at times against this Tennessee pass rush. Yep, that didn't happen at all. Zero sacks from Tennessee. Great job out of the Alabama line.
Ty Simpson, are there fans right now at Alabama probably like, why the hell is Jalen Milroe playing?
Right.
And where was the Ty Simpson the past 2 years? They've been on campus. It's like he just came in the middle of nowhere. But him and Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, they have clicked. He drops back there with some serious confidence, full control of the offense, and just making big time throws. Guys are playing for each other. It's scary that team is building momentum. And you know what? The best thing that probably could have ever happened to them was losing to Florida State.
Right.
And that team, it woke them up. It's like, all right, we're a national embarrassment probably in their mind. And hey, they clicked, they got it fixed. Again, coaching matters. And now look at them. They're steamrolling people. And it's a team right now. If they're probably going to go play for the SEC championship, they're going to be probably top, I'm going to say top 6 seed in the country, most likely top 4. And, DeBoer has playoff experience. We had it at Washington. So this team is very, very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, and that defense continues to improve week in and week out under Campbell.
All right, Fresh. I've been saving this in here. We wanted to get to some games here first, but we got to go to Clemson, Alabama. I told you guys about this during the preview episode that I felt that Clemson was going to piss me off win this football game because I think Clemson's the biggest bunch of frauds out there, and they have received a lifetime candidacy of the mayor of Fraudville here. SMU goes in to Clemson, Alabama, and beats the bejesus out of the Clemson Tigers. Here's the thing. And I told you I was going to get onto a rant and that you wanted to tune into a recap episode for this reason. I don't want to hear anything about how, Cade Klubnik didn't play in this football game, that they went with Vizian. The problem I sit here and have going, Clemson, you had two guys who are on our was on our preseason All-American list, who are going to probably be first-round draft picks. You gave up 139 yards of rushing to the SMU Mustangs. Chris Johnson and Derek McFall are not Rashard Smith, who Fresh said in the preview episode, said that goes, hey, Clemson, you're not going up against the same guys here or there. Well, no, they looked even better than Rashard Smith from last year.
Where was TJ Parker? Where was Peter Woods?
They're terrible.
Wood Stanley Brown, all these big time 4 and 5 star top 10 players that they have on this roster they recruited. They can't tackle. They can't execute. I knew I was going to bring it up if you didn't mention, I don't care. They still, team scored, but you gave up over 30 points to SMU. Your defense under Tom Allen, who was at Penn State, and Penn State's defense last year was playing really well, and Jim Knowles wasn't there. There's some issues. And, Todd from Spartanburg probably so exhausted from drinking that he doesn't even want to call in anymore. He's like, what's the point? That Clemson football team, they have a 30-year mortgage right now in Fraudville.
Right. And you only had 35 yards rushing against this SMU defense. The East Texas A&M, not just East Texas University, East Texas Agricultural and Mechanical University, the Lions, who are probably picked straight off of Friday Night Lights, they went for almost the exact amount of carries, went for 107 against the SMU run defense. And SMU held you to 35 rush yards. 35. It's not just you not using the transfer portal. College football has officially passed you by. You are out. You are irrelevant. Yes, wonderful. You won 2 national titles. That's great. But you won them in the 14 playoff era. You have been hot garbage since the NIL era. You haven't been competitive in the ACC for years. You made the ACC title game last year by the skin of your teeth. You beat SMU and Charlotte. You went to Texas and kind of at the end of the day, you got drubbed a little bit. Okay, you played a little bit of competitive football for maybe about 3 quarters, but the final score didn't look that way. Dabo Swinney, you're living on your laurels of Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd, all of those guys. You're living in the past. Clemson is a joke of a program now. They should always be living in fraudville. Anyone from here on out who puts respect on the Clemson Tigers name is an absolute fool. You are hot garbage, and you are not the part of college football anymore. You should not even consider yourself an elite level program because this is a joke. This is a joke of a program, a joke of a head coach who is sitting there. He is an old man yelling at clouds now.
Before we jump to the Big 12, and I'll wrap up on the Clemson rant here.
I felt good.
He wants to be that one guy's like, I'm going to do it my way. No,
right.
Dude, you have to be able to adapt. And you have to be able to push your offensive coaches. You went and got Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley's brother. That offense has been trash since he showed up. There's no split. We're supposed to be seeing 50 points a game under Kate Klumbick and throwing the receivers all around and fast paced. There's nothing. It's terrible. And then your defense, where's the execution? It's just a complete don't give me the standard of we're Clemson men or Ipte and all that little nonsense, blah blah blah. It's a disaster. And you reap what you sow, but he's not going to get fired. He won the 2 natties, but it's maybe in 3 years, Dabo, you might say, hey, it's probably okay to retire.
Yeah, I would step away for a year right now, but all right, Fresh, you're right. We gotta go over to the Big 12, and we still need to hit South Bend, Indiana up a little bit. Which one you want to start? You want Holy War? Or you want to talk about Texas Tech?
Let's look at Texas Tech.
Got to with a caveat.
Their quarterback didn't play, but that defense was supposed to be. The defense was the big part, and why I have some issues right now with Texas Tech is that they had a lead with less than 2 minutes ago, and they allowed Arizona State to drive against their defense, drive right down the field, and put up the winning touchdown. That is worrisome to me. Look around, guys playing together. Your quarterback's out, you have a lead. Your defense is supposed to be the strongest suit. Finish it. They have to score a touchdown, and you didn't finish it. You laid a major egg. Blinders were not on. You weren't ready for the full 60-minute fight. And that just right there shows, in the back of your mind, if I have to call my defense to get a stop to win a big playoff game against an elite team, can they actually do it? It's going to be some serious soul searching for the Red Raiders here. Morton or no Morton, if your defense can't get a stop to finish out the ball game and allows Arizona State to drive the field, granted they had Sam Levitt back big, but if you're calling cards your defense, you spend all the NIL money and all that transfer portal resources on that, and you don't show up when it matters most in your big game, kind of has me worried. When they have BYU come up later in the year, you could put yourself out of the playoff with 2 losses. Because right now, the Big 12 is already probably only going to get maybe on the cusp of 2 if 2 teams are undefeated. This is going to really shake up how that conference is going to play out and how the playoffs are going to play out.
Well, I just pulled it up real quick here, Fresh. BYU and Cincinnati both are undefeated in Big 12 play. Texas Tech and Arizona State's 3-1. You have a loss to Arizona State, so you lose that tiebreaker. You don't play Cincinnati, so you're hoping that you beat BYU, and that Arizona State, I'm checking real quick to see if Arizona State has Cincinnati on their schedule. They don't either. So you're hoping that Cincinnati stubs their toe along the way and loses a game to keep them out of the Big 12 title game. Like, your path went from, you were on your way to the playoff, and you're golden, pony boy, but you're looking at now you're hoping that Cincinnati stubs their toe.
That'll waste a lot of oil money out there in Lubbock.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Cincinnati does have BYU on their schedule.
Well, still,
so BYU,
from a ranking perspective, that's a close game. I'm probably going to have them ranked ahead of Texas.
Right. And Cincinnati, I mean, ever since that week 1 3-point loss to Nebraska, which they were close to beating Nebraska, they've kind of cruised along here. So I'm impressed with the Bearcats a lot here. All right, Fresh, let's go over then to the Holy War. This game delivered. This game definitely delivered.
BYU showing up at home, showed toughness, showed resiliency, and found ways to overtake it. Utah right now, Kyle Whittingham, you built a great standard program there, but losing your 2 big games of the year in tough ways, one getting blown in the fourth quarter and one here in a matchup. Maybe there's just a little bit off there, but BYU, I was still suspect of all right, how are these guys going to show up? What's his offense going to do? And Bear Bachmeyer and the Cougars they found a way to persevere, and then they pulled it out, and it's a dub. Keeps them like a line. And with Texas Tech loss, it makes it even look bigger. Kind of like a double win. But the Cougs right now, last year they stumbled late. This is a chance for them to redeem themselves and push themselves into the playoff picture.
Yeah, BYU's got to be very careful because what they start last year, was it 9-0?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Was
got
it
to
they
a
were
heck of a start, and then they faded down the stretch like a pony at Derby.
right? They lost like I want to say either 2 or 3 in a row there.
Yeah, and it was a major crumble point. I think last year's loss in Salt Lake City late was a
Hmm
motivation point of how to finish a football game.
Yeah, this was LJ Martin in this game was an absolute monster, and people forget how good he was. Fresh, this game was line them up, let's hit each other in the mouth and run the football type of game. This was the game for you. I
Yeah,
mean, these teams combined for 79 rushing attempts for over 425 yards of rush offense there. This is a fun game to watch if you stayed up for the entirety of it. And again, if you tuned in for it, because this Holy War is one of the better under the radar rivalries in college football.
there's a lot of hatred in the state of Utah
Yes.
for between these two programs.
All right, first, we would be remiss if we didn't spend a few minutes in South Bend, Indiana. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, that was a dogfight of a game in the first half. And even through 3 quarters, man, you thought that this was back and forth. Maeva throws a couple of picks, has a couple of issues there. And Notre Dame, though, that two-headed rushing attack monster that they have with Love and Price, I mean, that's a tough thing to beat for a playoff team. I think Notre Dame has really inserted themselves in the conversation after starting the year 0-2.
They're back into it, and now the one-score game loss to Miami, a 1-point loss to A&M, and the way that they've responded since then puts them back in that playoff conversation because they could have had that third loss or they could have laid it down, but they knew they're playing on borrowed time right now. And neither of
Right.
those games they didn't get blown out, and now they've reset themselves. But the one thing that shocked me, I saw like an inspiration point, is USC scores and then a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. It's like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
it gave USC a blip of hope, and then they stole it right back. And from there, in that moment on, it was like USC's soul was stolen and they just destroyed. And Notre Dame was able to really lay it back on. Marcus Freeman keeping that team, connected, keeping that team growing amidst some contract rumors of like, oh, he's going to go to Penn State or he'll be going to Florida, which I don't think either are going to happen.
Neither.
It's just keep the mindset focused on the next goal and beating a rival like
Mm-hmm.
that. It helps. They were also ranked, so you get that little extra resume builder. But Notre Dame definitely back in the conversation, and I mean they still need some help above to let things sort of sort it out. But we are in the middle of October, 6 weeks probably to go roughly in the regular season, and anything can happen. They might be able to, if they just quietly work themselves through the weeds, get themselves
Mm-hmm.
right back in there and be that 11, 12 seed just ready to go and be very, very dangerous playoff match for somebody.
Yeah. And it's going to make it interesting in a couple weeks. Undefeated Navy
Oh,
again.
I mean, and Blake
And again,
Horvath,
it's
Blake Horvath and,
midshipmen.
and the midshipmen, they've given them some battles before, so
Right.
that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. I think people want us to just completely take a crap on USC and Lincoln Riley over there because I watched that game and
Different team.
it is a different team than the last couple of years. And again, if you're living in 2023, 2024, even 22 a little bit, then all right, whatever. You're just wanting to hate USC. You just want to
Hmm.
hate them, and that's fine by all means. Yeah. But this passing attack and this defense is looking better. And I think there are times where I look at the interception that happened right before halftime. I think Notre Dame has the ball at the 4, and they run the ball 2 times, and USC completely stuffs Love and Price in that moment there. And I was waiting for, okay, that was going to be an easy moment. That's the moment that, hey, the USC defense doesn't really buckle down inside the 20s. But they did. It forced a terrible throw by C.J. Carr to keep them into that football game. And Jaden Maeva, really good quarterback.
And he has shown growth. And he's kind of hidden there at UNLV last year. Is the reason why Georgia went out in the portal to try to get him initially before Miller Moss left and the opportunity opened for him to go to USC. And he
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of fits that mentality, that offense that Lincoln Riley wants. You kind of look at Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, and Jalen Hurts. they all have that mobility element that gives them that threat. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
just a spread offense. It allows them to be part of that offense from their legs and their arm. And Maeva does the exact same thing for the Trojans.
Yeah. It's been a great weekend, Fresh. I got to say one last thing before this. Can my boy Julian Sane get some Heisman hype yet?
First of all, I'm going to say is there a pulse?
Yeah.
Oof.
He might not be as of today. It's going to be the interesting thing. Like, we have all these teams that look like they could be firing their coach. Luke Fickell, Billy Napier, Mike Norvell. All three of them are easily on the hot seat. We know Dabo's not going to get fired, but again, Dabo could be a we step away type of thing.
Or the hey,
I
you
don't
might
think.
want to just we're going to suggest after a couple more years that it may be time for you to retire, like a forced quote unquote retirement.
Yeah, something along those lines. It's going to get interesting, Fresh. We talked about LSU. I don't really feel like we need to put South Carolina in Fraudville because while the expectation is they didn't build up to expectations and completely let us down. They just let us down all year. I don't know. Let me ask you this. I should ask you this when we were talking about Texas Tech. Is Texas Tech on their way to Fraudville?
If they lose one more time, they're forever because they didn't show us much last year, what, 8-5 or 9-4. But all the hype of the money, the return on investment is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's going to be Fraudville, but McGuire might want to watch himself. If they lose again, all that money the oil companies they want us to invest in, he might be asked to depart Lubbock, Texas very, very quickly. And it's a long drive to an airport from there. There's not much out there.
Right. Anyone else that you think is on their way? Because they got to have expectations to get. You can't be a fraud and not have. I mean, we had no expectations.
Matt Rule in Nebraska. And look, it's year 3, and they've lost to Minnesota. They barely beat Cincinnati at week 1, which was supposed to be a coming out party. They stumbled their toe every time they played a ranked opponent. Bad.
9 sacks.
Bad. When you bring in Raiola, like Dana Holgerson's there, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but there are some serious questions. And I think Nebraska fans have got to realize that maybe them as a football power and competitive at a national level it ended in 1995.
Yeah, I think so too. It's unfortunate because football's better. And so it's 5-2 though. Going Gophers up there.
Right.
Big Ten's going to be interesting. And then a lot of conference races are going to be real interesting in it. So that's why you're going to need to be locked in with us. So hit that subscribe button. Get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Just like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Fresh, week number 8 is in the books. We got Sunday morning football. The Jags are playing Sunday morning here, so we got to get to that. And we have an amazing week number 9 coming up at you guys. So make sure you're locked in with us.
Week 9 is going to be a lot of fun. We want to discuss. You want to see our rants or who's joining Fraudville on a daily basis, come in and hit us up. And we'll hit you up with our preview for week 9 here real soon. And until then, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.